Bar staff of Reddit, have you ever had a man use the safe word drink escape, and how often does it happen? Story 1. Yes. I have had this happen in a venue I managed in Melbourne. The lady in question became very forward, slightly abusive and threatening. The gentleman was obviously concerned for himself and did not like the way the date had progressed. We booked him a taxi and walked him out a back exit whilst he was going to a toilet. I spoke to the lady and covered his half of the bill. She became hysterical, paid, and then left. There was a huge power imbalance. Edit. Wow, that went a bit cray. Edit. My first gold and silver. Thank you, kind people. Story 2. I have been in a scenario like this. I was a busboy at a local pizza bar. So I just started my shift and I'm clearing a table and everything, and I notice a table where a female is being extremely loud and abrasive. I walk back to the dish room, and the guy knocks his drink over, so I go to get it. He hands me a napkin and pretends to help me. So I go back into the kitchen, and it just says, "Call 911." So I tell my manager, and he does so. So I told his waitress to bring him another drink and to say, "Don't worry about the drink accidents happen." She is getting worse and worse, and we all can hear her saying that if he tries to leave her, she would kill herself. So about 12 minutes later, some cops show up. The guy is in tears when they show up. He runs to the bathroom and my boss points at the table and they take her out to the restaurant. This is where it got wild. She begins to take her clothes off one by one to avoid being escorted out of the restaurant. So here we are during dinner rush, a naked crazy person stripping down, running around tables screaming about her boyfriend. She got to the point where she was grabbing silverware and throwing at the cops, and they dead tackle her and put her in cuffs, drag her naked out to the car. The poor boyfriend is in tears in the bathroom. I go check on him and tell him what happened, and he apologized. I was like, "Dude, what caused all of this?" He said, "We met on POF, and this was our first date." I had no clue what to do. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold, guys. I will try and respond to as many of these as I can. Story 3. Yep, I work in a nightclub in a small city in England, in Lincolnshire. I once had a guy who seemed to only recently turned 18 ask if Angela was working. Ask for Angela is a UK scheme that helps prevent violence, sexual assaults, and date rape. I knew about the Ask for Angela scheme, and immediately I brought him into the glass washroom. Turns out there were a bunch of lasses encouraging this one lass into seducing him, grinding up on him, trying to kiss him, and groping him. This apparently continued even after the man had walked away into other parts of the nightclub after showing and saying he wasn't interested. I had reported this to my supervisor, who was a little hesitant at first, but eventually called the bouncers into the back room too. We explained the situation to them. Now these guys are basically 200, 300-pound tanks, who you would expect to joke about this and tell this guy to man up and enjoy it, but to my surprise, they took it seriously as well. They managed to track down this group, 5 women, including the one who was doing the grinding, and they escorted all of them out of the building. Meanwhile, a taxi had already been prepared by my supervisor, and the taxi firm was literally down the road, so it didn't take long for it to arrive. I escorted the man through the back stairs that continues down to the stock cellar, but leads off to the side exit of the building near the bins. A taxi was parked just outside. It would be a rare occasion when someone uses Ask Angela where I work, let alone a man, so I'm really glad that all of the staff took it seriously and helped as much as they could. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up. To those curious, it was in Lincoln. Brilliant town for a night out, TBH. Story 4. I had a woman at a bar on business one night. She came up to me after about 20 minutes after I sat down alone. I was having a rough day. She apparently was having a great one. Sitting there drinking my beer, she kept talking to me, grabbing me, and kept asking for us to leave because she would my brains out. Mind you, this woman was an obvious regular barfly and had been overserved. At one point, I got up and pretended my Asian buddy across the way, actually a stranger, was my best friend. She eventually made her way over and kept touching me. I asked the bartender if she could help me. She actually pretended to be a friend of mine also, said I was a part owner of the establishment, brought me into the office and let me sit there with her and the guy in the office. They gave me free food, let me finish my drink, had a good conversation, and some to-go food too. They felt terrible that a new guy had all these problems, I guess, but they treated me well and got me out of there unscathed. I can still see her whacked-out hairstyle and the cigarette smoke that she stank of. Cool of the bartender to do that. Story 5. Here one from Eindhoven, Netherlands. I was working for a smaller bar with a mixed crowd. For both men and women, we had safe drinks. Women, virgin tequila. Men, virgin vodka. In total, I saw these ordered 2 times. The one that sticks with me the most was for Christmas Eve. This night we had mostly gay guys hanging around in the bar and some students. After a while of the students, S, got a lot of attention of one of the gay guys, GG, hand on leg, a lot of too personal questions, touching, and told he was straight and not interested. This got the bartender that overheard this on alert, and he put a napkin on the bar near where he was sitting with a red exclamation mark, so all staff knew something was up. S goes to toilet and GG orders a round of vodka shots. Bartender didn't see S, so poured the order and placed it on the bar. S comes back and GG tells him to help him empty the glasses. S starts drinking and suddenly looks very paley and sweaty. As soon as the vodka is dome, GG smiles and walks to toilet. S looks worse by the second and asks for virgin vodka. At this moment, 2 of the bartenders get him to one of the other bars owned by my boss and call an ambulance. The rest of the crew created a diversion for GG as soon as he came from the toilet, telling him S left for a phone call. Ambulance noticed S seemed to be drugged. GG was drinking something else by then, watered-down cocktails without him even noticing, and we alerted the police, who found 4 tubes of GHB on him. In the end, GG was arrested and S rushed to hospital. Edit. Whoa! Didn't expect this many reactions. Here's some answers. This was indeed on Stratumsint. The bars in question unfortunately do not exist anymore. We called it Virginx because at this time, around 2008-2010, we never expected it to be used so much. Later, we even changed the name every 3 months. GHB is officially a medical aid, later rape drug, which is too easy to produce at home. This makes control over it even harder and the drug only more dangerous. Story 6. I used to work in a bar in Orlando, and one Friday night we're pretty heavy and have a guy, regular, and a lady on a date at the bar, and it looks pretty well until he asks for 2 stomach shots, A.K.A. Please help me. I really don't want to be here with them. And he excuses himself as our manager calls him a taxi cab and explains to the lady, and she gets mad and tries to leave, saying that a man should pay for the bill no matter what. Edit. He paid for his half of the check before leaving. Story 7. Disclaimer. Where is Angela? Is a scheme to get people out of dodgy dates in the UK. This happened to me. A man came up to the bar and said, "Hi there, do you know where Angela is?" I wasn't sure I heard him right, so I replied, "Sorry, what was that?" He then repeated, "Do you know where Angela is?" whilst giving me a funny look with his eyes. We had just had a new starter at the company called Angela, who was working in the kitchen. The bar I worked at is in a restaurant. The fact he referred to her by name and his facial expression made me think he was a friend/spouse of hers. But he was unsure if she was working today or that he was at the right restaurant. I told him I'd check the back for her. She was in the kitchen, so I went back to the bar and told him to follow me. I then pointed him towards Angela, and he glanced over to her and said, "Oh, right, cheers," and then ran out of the fire escape next to her, one of those ones with a bar to open, setting a loud alarm off. My manager came running in asking what was wrong, and I told him what had happened. My manager stopped the alarm and informed me that "Where's Angela?" is a new scheme the police have brought in, but he hadn't got round to telling us. I told my manager that it would have been nice to have been informed. TLDR man asked for Angela. I did not know it was a code word. Somehow it worked out in the end. My manager sucked. Edit. RIP my inbox. Thanks for the gold kind internet stranger. Story 8. I used to bartend and do front desk at a hotel. One of my regulars was in for the week, real nice guy, very friendly and happily married. We also had a cuckoo lady staying with us that week. She was decent looking, but deaf, had crazy eyes. They were both at the bar and they were talking for a while. Him being a nice guy, he didn't want to outright blow her off, I guess. He stops at the front desk to say what's up, and we talk for a bit, while the girl is just standing behind him. He shoots me a look that says, "Get me out of this situation," as he starts walking towards the elevator. Once she gets in the elevator, I called him back to ask a question about Detroit because I was going there next week. He got off the elevator, but so did she. Then I told the lady there was a problem with the card she had on file. There wasn't, and he slipped away. He called me thanking me a few minutes later. Story 9. Worked in a pub in Ireland as a bouncer. Not a common thing here to have the "get me out of here" shot. So no signs or that, but there was some Facebook post calling them angel shots that did its rounds. Girls would say they've to go to us and we'd know. No code words or... Anyway, one night I'm doing my thing in this nice bar, and a guy approaches me in front of a group of friends being a bit boisterous from a fancy restaurant across the road, and he says he needs an angel shot. So we let them in, but I hold him there questioning his ID. As his friend make fun of me and him as I'm 22, this guy was maybe 35-ish, and I was a kid telling a man no. So they hang about for him, so I can't ask him what's up. I tell him no. He's had too much tonight. I hail a taxi down and he pretends to resist getting in. So I basically pick him up and carry him into the taxi. He throws me $50 into my jacket pocket discreetly, and the taxi goes off then. Nothing big. 2 days later, I'm working again. Same bunch of guys from the restaurant come over. The angel shot guy isn't there. 3 days later, angel shot guy comes but very early and explains it all to me. Turns out his friends were doing coke, all professional people, and a girl was raped in the bathroom. He said at first she wanted to have with one of them, but then 2 guys came in. Then she wanted out and couldn't. This guy tried to interject but couldn't, and then felt uncomfortable and didn't want a part of this, so wanted to leave but was told if he did they'd hurt him. And the reason they all returned 2 days later was his going away drinks that he didn't attend. Obviously. The guys were then charged like a month later. Can't find public info on it anymore. Only time I ever had to use the "get me out of here" shot. Edit. Use to us, edit to. Thanks for the silvers. Story 10. I haven't done it personally, but a friend had it happen to him who is a bartender. He was finishing up his shift when a man walks up to him, asking for a safeword drink. I forget what he said it was called, and said he wanted it on the rocks. Friend just said, "Yeah, sure," and helped him to the taxi. Just as the man got in the taxi, the woman he had been there with came running out towards the taxi and yelled profanities, calling the man she had been with fucking white trash and he'll never amount to anything, and some like that. Last I heard, she was banned from that bar, and several others, while the man who got help became a bit of a regular. Edit. This was around 4 or 5 years ago, so the details are a bit rusty. Story 11 only had one incident of a man using Ask for Angela, UK safe word scheme. Gay kid on a bad date. His date had been extremely overbearing, and even having to witness it from the bar was extremely uncomfortable. We smuggled him into the kitchen and out the side door while his date went to the bathroom and called him a taxi. Date came back from the bathroom, asked where the kid was. I just went, "Dunno." Date started getting aggro with me, so supervisor ended up throwing this guy out by the collar. It honestly doesn't get used enough, by either men or women, especially here in the UK. It absolutely sucks, especially when you as a bartender can't really legally do much, or you risk not only your job, but the bar's reputation. Edit. Just for clarification, the victim was 19. Legal age of drinking alcohol in UK is 18. So yes, he is still technically a kid. Story 12. Not an angel shot. But last week I had to meet my abusive ex-wife to talk about some things regarding our kids. I'm a male. I insisted that we needed to meet in public, so she begrudgingly agreed to meet at Chili's. Throughout the entire meal, she was being mean and hateful and cruel to me. But she was also quiet about it. I wasn't crying or anything, on the outside anyway. She was just being overly threatening and quiet to me. At a point during the lunch, our waiter thankfully positioned himself behind her and mouthed the following words to me. "Are you okay?" I kind of shook my head no because I was afraid of leaving when the time came. We paid the check and were about to leave when the manager appeared with the waiter. The manager stood between my ex and myself and told her, politely, that she needed to leave on her own. Before she could become belligerent, the manager explained to her that he had called the police and that she needed to leave immediately. He then asked me quietly to have a seat and wait. They brought me another drink. The cops showed up quickly and made sure my ex had left. They walked me to my car and then followed me home to make sure I was okay. Not an angel shot, but these workers were angels to me. They paid attention to a terrifying situation and helped me more than they will ever know. Story 13. Not quite the same, but I worked in a coffee shop on a busy high street this year and had a similar sort of thing happen. We noticed one customer had come in, ordered, and sat opposite the counter, which meant that he was staring at me and my other female colleagues for about 30 minutes straight. We wondered if he was high as he didn't seem aware of himself, but his gaze was following me as I walked up and down the counter, which was about 8 mm long. We then closed and the customers sitting inside left, including a very nice young couple who walked up the street away from the shop. as did the weird guy. About 10 minutes later, the couple came back to the door, which we had locked, and knocked, saying they'd left a phone behind. They came in and told us that the man had followed them for 10 minutes towards their home, so they came back to hide. Story 14. I used to bartend for a gay bar. One night I had a group of guys who seemed to be having a great time. After another round of shots, one sticks behind at the bar and asks for an angel shot. I bring him behind the bar and into the office. He was with a couple co-workers and their friends. He knew the co-workers were gay and would be taking him to a gay bar, but apparently things started to get out of hand when they started trying to him. I tell him he can chill in the back room for as long as he needed. He hands me a handful of crumpled ones and asks for a burger. We didn't really serve food besides shitty bar snacks, so I hand him back his money and give him a couple bags of chips. About half an hour later, I go to check on him and notice that he's really fucked up, to the point where he can't even talk. Definitely drugged with something. Luckily, all his friends were still there drinking, so I called the cops. He's rushed away in an ambulance immediately. I shut the bar down so the cops and I can go through the security footage. We managed to catch two of the guys he's with putting some powder into his beer. Both of them were arrested, the other two were somewhere else at the time, and were let go. Edit. Thanks for all the kind words, guys. Story 15. I work in small cocktail bars in Sydney, Australia, prime date night joints. We have something called Ask for Angela, where the idea is you just ask the bar staff if Angela is working tonight, and that'll be the hint to keep an eye on things or even call a cab. I've only had one customer, man or woman, ever use it. A nice younger guy on a date with an older gentleman. The issue was threefold. A venue at the time had quite a few backpackers on working holidays that were completely unaware of this protocol. We had a lovely Chinese girl who went by Angela working that night, and that the date was going poorly in such a fashion that, to the untrained eye, it looked like two work acquaintances having a drink. There was that little chemistry between them. Apparently, the older gentleman followed the younger in the bathroom and copped a feel, prompting the ask for Angela. It was a huge runaround, to be honest. It took quite a while for a native English speaker to tune into the argument behind the bar where Angela was explaining that she had no idea who this guy was. So eventually he got some help. He ordered 2 cocktails at the bar, asked if Angela was working tonight, saying she made them the best. We ended up ordering an Uber for him while he feigned an emergency, and brought their drinks out in time that the older bloke sort of felt obligated to stay and finish them, just as his Uber arrived. Unfortunately, a lot of bars have joined the Ask for Angela campaign. It's government-sponsored, posted the signs in their ladies' rooms, and called it a day. No staff training. This is because it puts you on a government list of safe bars and, well, nobody can give up free publicity. Very disappointing. I also believe it needs to better extend to men on poor dates as well. I rarely see the posters in men's rooms, just unisex and ladies. Story 16. If a security guy counts as bar staff. Was in a nightclub, working instead of a friend who had an exams next day. I took his 2 shifts since I had whole week free. There was a date where the guy was defiantly afraid of a girl, asked for permission to engage, and decided to calm 2 down. I took the man to our security booth where you have camera control, who was literally shaking out of fear. I had him calm down, paid for cold soda myself, and gave one to the guy, and I drank one myself, instead of cigarettes. I hate smoking. After it, and nice talk, turned out he was a businessman, I called him a taxi. Wanted to give me equivalent of $300. I said no, it's my job, but he insisted. It's a lot when you paycheck equals 800 USDs. Taxi arrived and took that guy to his home. He thanked me once again and gave me his number. Sadly, I don't have it anymore. But still, nice thing to happen. And just in case, it happened in Poland. Story 17. My friend's roommate was the bouncer at our college bar. My friend broke up with his GF and she wanted him back. She kept threatening to make a rape claim against him if he didn't get back together with her. After a month of not talking to her, he thought the situation was done with. I ended up seeing him at the bar one night and we're just drinking and shooting the... Out of nowhere, his ex appears and starts flirting with him. We are both frozen in fear because he's got to walk this fine line of not her off and not getting back together with her. Another bouncer burst in and booms, "I told you to get the out? What's wrong with you two?" He leads us to the back, exit-only door where my friend's roommate was standing. The roommate saw the ex creeping in and had his back. He sent one bouncer to kick us out, I was let back in, and another bouncer to stall the crazy ex so he could escape. Pure bro behavior. Story 18. I've never had a man say anything. I've had a woman write down on a napkin and hand it to me via discreet handshake that said, "Call 911, I'm afraid." So I called 911 because IDK. You say call the cops, I'm not about to doubt it and be held liable for anything, and turns out the dude had 3 dead cats in his trunk. Homegirl dodged a bullet. Craziest bar story of my whole career. Story 19. I have been manager of a nightclub in Holland for 5 years. We got good night out trainings. This is a training that helps you recognize when someone is getting sexual harassment and/or assaulted, and how to react to the situation. We would put up the good night out posters all over the venue. So if we miss it, people know they can trust the staff and tell us. Because it is hard to really recognize this. In a nightclub, we had more people that would go to the bar and ask for help. They would just tell us, we had no safe word. If this happened, I was called and I stopped with everything I did and started helping this person. A lot can feel as harassment. So we would always take it seriously. First, I would try to take them off the dance floor and backstage so I could sit down and hear their story. After that, I would always ask them if they want to press charges. If not, they could point the person that was harassing them to me and I would kick them out. If they want to press charges, I had to call the police and also try to find the harasser and hold them until the cops arrived. This would not happen a lot, maybe once every 1-2 months. Still too much, but for a nightclub it could be a lot worse. If someone tells you they are getting harassed, always take it serious. She already feels ashamed and had to tell you about it. Edit. The Good Night Out campaign. Story 20. How do those safe words work when the person you are trying to get away from is the same gender? They put the signs, with the special safe word, in the restroom, and they work great when you need to get away from the opposite. But how does that work when the person you are wanted to get rescued from is the same? Because if they use the restroom, they have seen the sign with the safe word, and if you use it in front of them, they will know what you are doing. Edit. Insane amount of upvotes in such a short amount time. 2,000 plus in 2 hours. WTF. Story 21. 8 years working at a brewery. Only one time have I had to actually save a guy, other than the funny ones, where I've helped them slip out of an awkward situation. Guy meets girl at the bar seats, they get drinks, 10 minutes later, round 2. Seems normal. They appear to be hitting it off. Out of nowhere, this gal starts flipping the out. Couldn't understand most of what's coming out of her mouth. Screaming about this guy trying to date rape her, phone in hand, threatening to call the cops, involving other women, and had to settle this lady down for a sec and grasp what's going on. No dice, won't chill out. She runs out of the bar at full speed and takes off in her car. Never saw her in the bar again. I know this guy didn't do anything but had to talk to cops anyways. Make a report, blah blah. Couple weeks pass by, same guy at the bar chatting with me. On the TV. Local news. Is that woman arrested for assaulting a guy whom she accused of the same thing, then trying to flee. It was her way of getting free fucking drinks. Yay, WTF. Story 22. Am a bouncer, had a regular dude meeting a Tinder date. She was pretty hot and I gave him a thumbs up. She was very polite and nice. 2 drinks later she became an utter. I walked up to him to see how it was going, and he explained while she was in the toilet how much of a she was being to everyone. He came up to me, said how good the whiskey was he just had, and I knew straight away, he's a beer man through and through, he wanted to bail. I asked him if he would stay if he didn't meet her. He nodded. So I kicked the girl out and told her she was too drunk. He met his girlfriend of now 3 years 2 hours later after I kicked her out. Story 23. I used to work in a high-quality seafood restaurant as a chucker. There were never any safe words, but there were a lot of telling looks. People behind the bar hear a lot of your conversations. They usually know what's going on before you do. I've had to more people than my job required off of the premises. Look at the bar staff in the eyes and slightly shake your head and we know. Story 24. My old regular bar had a drink called Neff. Need escape, please help. Not really the name as it is another language, but that is the idea. Which was not on the menu. If you order it, they call you a cab, and one of the waiters will wait next to the toilet, allowing you to pay your half there and let you into the back so you can leave unnoticed. It was available for men and women alike to get out of bad dates, though they will not really let you use it to skip on your date. They didn't advertise it really, but regulars knew it existed. They would also actively offer someone that drink if they feel their date is going to the wrong place. I saw a man being offered it once when his date was verbally abusive to him, and a woman whose date was so arrogant and creepy and talked down on her. Never actually use it myself. I actually thought it was relatively common in most neighborhood bars to have this type of drink. Story 25. So I'm a line cook, not bar staff, but at my last job, we had cameras in the bar area, cash register, and I was talking to our night bar gal. She said a guy had asked for a taxi because he felt dizzy and disoriented and didn't feel safe. His GF was chiding him. But it turns out it wasn't her that spiked the drink. The cameras caught the guy next to this couple putting something in his drink for his GF, and he screwed up which one, because they both had the same drink. So, two couples, one guy accidentally doses a guy's drink by mistake. The girl for the dosing guy left without him. Apparently, he was impatient when it wasn't working. The worst part? We thought he was cool guy. He was a regular. They caught him next time and called the cops and showed the tapes, and last I heard, he was being charged with attempted sexual assault. Edited for a bit more clarity. Story 26. There was a really good thread similar to this a while back. Here's one good answer. I've experienced the bartender hero before. Out with a friend in DC, guy comes up, stands way too close, introduces himself and shakes my hand. Way too hard and way too long. I had to actually pull my hand away and he kept the grip. I politely told him I was visiting a friend I hadn't seen in a while and wanted to spend my time with her and turned my back. He kept standing there, trying to talk to me. I again, but more firmly, told him I wasn't interested. He stayed. He orders another drink and the bartender serves him, all the way at the other end of the bar. Actually showed him his drink and said it will be over here, and walked it as far away from us as he could. I thought that was brilliant. He got a very, very good tip from us. Story 27. I've unintentionally used the safe word drink before. Went to a bar with my now fiancé and ordered 2 Manhattans, which was apparently the safe word. Bad choice in my opinion. But in the bar's defense, not exactly the place you would normally order one. I was very nicely asked come over to the sidebar. What kind of bourbon do you want? And the bartender asked if I needed a cab, if I was in a dangerous or uncomfortable situation. Story 28. I had one really bad date that stands out. I knew the bartenders because I was a regular. She was from out of town, 20 minutes away, not far. And when I met her, a few things stood out. First off, she was nothing like her OkCupid profile. Common thing I've learned over the years for everyone. Second, she kept talking. Like, IDK. Saying weird stuff and using weird words like, it's all okay, when I die I'm going to Leviorsk up to God. And she kept using words that have no relevance to English to describe the act of dying or being dead. I've dated religious people, Wiccans, all kinds of stuff. But I've never found another psychological specimen quite like this one. The thing that really broke the camel's back was when she took the tomato off her burger and fucking threw it on the floor, saying that all vegetables taste like dirt, was what got me. I asked Chuck, my bartender, if he could distract her, and he did. I left 100 and promptly left. The bar staff got a $40 tip and they never forgot that. To this day, they still make me good drinks and cut me good deals. Love them all. That girl probably tasted like dirt, and her personality belonged next to that tomato on the floor. Story 29. Okay, I'm going to use this post as a pedestal for this information for those of us in the industry. As a restaurant person who is a barely functioning alcoholic, if you have a friend in the industry who is drinking at your bar and asks for a shot glass of water, please give it to them. Keeping up appearances in the industry is incredibly important. I do 1 shot and 1 beer with my crew when we go out. Then the rest is nursing a bucket of ice water with a few stirs and a lime in it so I don't get shitty. I truly believe that the industry is perfect for people with a certain set of priorities, but one of the tolls is drinking and casual drug use. It's often easier to fake than to bail. Stay healthy and make your bed every morning. Love you. Story 30. I worked in a nightclub that was popular with the gay community for a couple of years. We didn't have a safe word, but one night there were 2 guys clearly hitting it off, they were flirting and having a great time. After a couple of drinks, one of the guys was clearly being very forward and touchy. The other was not enjoying this and had withdrawn. He attempted to walk back to his friends, but the first guy wasn't having this and pulled him back. In an attempt to get out, the guy started vigorously shaking his head anytime one of the bar staff walked by. After this happened a few times, we realized something needed to be done and spoke to the guy that was being all forward and explained that we didn't think the other guy wanted to stay at the bar with him. He got aggressive then and started screaming at us because How the would we know what the guy wanted? Although it was blatantly obvious. Eventually, we got security down to the guy out of the place so that the guy who had been trying to get away could go back to his friends, have a good night, and not have to leave. Story 31. I'm a man, and I've appealed to staff before. It is better than confronting them. I did, however, stand up from a poker tournament when I saw a guy pushing his girlfriend around. Luckily, by the time I got over there, a couple dozen other people were right behind me. Story 32. Yup, had exactly this happen to me years back in a nightclub I managed. Only time I've ever experienced it, so I wouldn't say it happens often. Turned out the girl he was with was and she had threatened him, saying guys were waiting outside to beat the out of him unless he paid up so many hundreds more than what they had agreed earlier. We immediately got the police involved instead of just escorting him out. It spiraled out of control briefly, but all was well in the end. Had some good times working in the cub industry. Edit. Oh wow, didn't expect this to get so many upvotes. Basically, for the people asking what happened to her, she went absolutely bad at my staff when she clocked. Something wasn't right, smashed some glasses, and stormed out of the venue. Police arrived, took CCTV footage and statements. She was picked up later that evening. No idea how far it went or what happened, though. As far as we could tell, there never were any bad guys waiting outside. My guess it was just some scam she tried to pull on her clients, who knows. All I care about is none of my cubs got hurt. Story 33. No, but I have a slightly relevant story. Slightly. It involves a bar and a guy, at least LMAO. I'm a line cook at one. I was kind of chilling in the hallway to gauge how busy we were getting so I could possibly take a break before we picked up. A very sweet, kind of nerdy guy got up from the bar and quickly walked towards the bathroom. On his way, he started crying. I walked into the bathroom with him and asked if he was okay. He said his date texted her boyfriend that he didn't know about, and some of his friends to come jump the guy because he couldn't afford to pay for all 8 of her cranberry vodkas. He said she was probably serious because he was peeping at her texts as she was nodding in and out. Definitely the bartender's fault for letting her get so fucked up. I told my manager, we put his tab on hold and escorted him out of the back door and hid him in the owner's truck. He was drunk enough that we didn't feel comfortable letting him drive. An Uber may take too long if this beating actually comes along. So I smoke my cigarettes, and almost immediately after walking back inside, I hear a douchebag pull in. You know, a guy doing a burnout into the parking lot in his burgundy 1996 Honda Civic with mismatched bumpers, jock fenders, and half of the hood spray-painted matte black. I grab my manager and we pretend to have a conversation outside. He walks in, he was alone thankfully, grabs from the bar and walks out. They ask if we've seen the guy she was with, and we told him he was throwing up really bad, so we called him an Uber. I know we should have said no, but there were only like 5 people at the bar at the time. Everyone definitely saw him walk through the back door of the kitchen with us. Dude gets pissed off saying his girl isn't paying for the tab and starts throwing rocks at our fucking windows. Owner grabs an old pool cue from the back and holds it above his head, ready to kill this dude until the police got there. Mao. Super douche and cranberry hoe speed off after a few more rocks and a half swing at the owner, which resulted in a full power pool cue to the wrist. We eventually really did call the dude an Uber, paid for the chick's drinks for him. He insisted he paid for his and the Uber, so we let him. Police were upset that we let the victim go before they could get a report and asked to watch our videotapes, which we only have inside, unfortunately. I don't know what happened after that, as I quit shortly after for a better position. Fucking craziest day at work, though.